Hello everyone. Today we have Mr. Rajesh Sawhney with us. Rajesh is currently a CEO and founder of GSF Accelerator. The company has invested in more than 110 companies, and then they're currently valued at more than $2 billion. He did his bachelor's from Delhi College of Engineering and went to London School of Economics for a fellowship program in globalization. He did his AMP from Harvard Business School in London. He also served as the founding president in Reliance Entertainment, where he led the rollout of Reliance Entertainment media and digital media. He also currently serves as a board member for Ixigo, IndiaMart and ZestMoney. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us in this conversation. How are you doing today?
All well. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, sir. How do you think Mohali is, the weather?
It is perfect. Sun is shining, little chill in the air. November is just perfect.
Definitely. So initially I wanted to go about your early days of growing up. I just want you to imagine yourself when you were 18 to 20 years old. How was it like? What was going on? What was something that you were fascinated about during those days?
Oh, that was in early 80s. I grew up in Delhi.
Yeah.
It was a lot less polluted than what it is today, 3 decades back. And it was fun growing up. It was greener, far less number of people, but still very exciting place to grow.
If you go back to the earlier Rajesh, what was he thinking about all day? Was he something obsessed about?
Rajesh was in his when he was 17, 18, 19 years age, he was a sportsman. Used to play many different games. He was excited about going to college and learning new technologies and stuff. But I do remember very distinctly, it was an era when computers was just coming in. I think Rajiv Gandhi was the Prime Minister then, and he was talking about computerization. And I still remember first day I went to college and our computer was still operating on punch cards. But from there rapidly things moved. Laptops, PCs came first, then laptop came. Music was still in the form of Walkmans. I used to have a Walkman and I used to buy cassettes from Palika Bazaar. But everything changed. We moved from cassette to CDs, and from CDs to streaming, and now to AirPods, iPods, AirPods, laptops, mobile phones, and there were no mobile phones. So I used to go to libraries.
Yeah.
Television was a shared experience amongst the family members and neighbors.
Yeah.
So it was a very different world, but it was an exciting world where we were a lot closer with each other as people than we are today.
Definitely. So I feel that a lot of times we see this age of connectiveness, but the human connectiveness has seemed to be getting away from
True.
people. We're not really interacting that much. We're
That's
not
right.
really having offline connections, hugs, all these things.
It was totally an offline world. There
Yeah.
was nothing called online at that point of time.
Definitely. So we'll get more into about the online and the future of online world.
You realize the value of online when you lived in the offline world. Today's generation, having lived only in online world, doesn't know what the value of offline is, in a strange way.
So isn't something that you found yourself particularly interested in? Was it business that you were interested in? Was it insights into looking at things? Something that you starkly remember which helps you today?
So look, even at that point of time, it was very clear that technology is the prime driver of humanity, or all the progress of humanity, right? It had become clear in 80s. Computerization was just knocking around our door. Personal computers were just about coming in. Microsoft was just about becoming a big company. Internet wasn't there. But it was very clear that the computers are the future. So this idea that computers will become very, very big stayed with me, right? My first job was with a company called CMC Limited, and I worked on a project there which was about building a computer which was multilingual. And it was clear even then that the world of tomorrow will be driven by computers, as I worked on that project. And that has been a core thought in my life forever. And last 30 years, if anything has seen rise and rise of computers, rise and rise of digital world, rise and rise of technology, and I think it's been a rewarding 30 years of working life for me, right?
Yeah.
And my whole existence, all the wealth I've generated, created, all the impact I've made is because I've lived in fantastic era where technology has changed the lives of billions of people. And I think we are still, in a way, at the very, I still feel the march of technology is at a very, very early stage. We're not even in the middle game, right? We are still, in the cricket parlance, we are still like opening batsmen, navigating the first few overs. So a lot more interesting stuff has to come, but lot has happened in last 30 years. We have very distinctively and clearly moved from an offline world to an online world.
And coming to, like, because I was born in the eras of 2000, 2003, I was in the middle of this transition, the fact that I got involved in all of this in the middle of 2010s and 2012s, like when I was completely immersed, everything sort of went online, from schools, from your textbooks to all the things, right? But if I look at the current generation, you just see the fact that a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and even a 1-year-old, they're just like born with this technology. They're born with all these instant information that they have. What do you think the impact of that would be having on the future generation?
No, profound. I think, look, I'm not a digital native. You are at least a digital native. And every year, the intensity of digital experience in one's life is increasing. And especially for people who are born in last few years, for them, it's a new reality in which they are born, right? So their life perspective is very different. Their adoption of technology is far more faster. Their use of technology is far more intuitive, and this has profound impact on the way consumer behavior and consumer adoption will be shaped, right? I was born in an era where there were not even ATMs, right? But now people are born in an era where they will question what are rupee notes. They will only see digital currencies, or maybe they will see only cyber currencies going forward. So it's a different world they are born into. It's a different generational change in perspective every few years, and this pace of change is not slowing down, it's accelerating, right? But that's what it is about, and that's what makes it exciting, because you have to learn new things every day, and it's at the same time you have to also, I realize, you have to unlearn a lot. You have to let go the baggage of the past so that you can embrace what is coming for us in a more adaptive way and not struggle with it. So your generation and the generations coming are lucky, but you're also not lucky in some ways. I think our generation has made our environment and climate far worse. We have endangered the earth in a very, very profound way. And I feel responsible for it, and I hope your generation will repair all the damage that my generation has done to our Mother Earth. So you have that responsibility, we have that responsibility. But it's a very exciting time to be living in, and that's what we are privileged about.
Yeah. Going about the exciting time, I just want to ask you, how do you, from an average person, how do you look the world differently? For example, if I look at Elon Musk, this guy just randomly walks into the office of Twitter, shares memes all day, and he's one of the richest guys in the world. It seems like he just takes the world as a meme and as a joke, like everything is his playground. He doesn't really cares about anything. But for an average person, it could be very, very different. Do you have any perspective of that, about how do you see the world, which could be different from, what are your perspectives of the world, which are different from an average person?
So look, let's just first focus a few minutes on Elon Musk. decades of hard work has gone into to get him to a position where it feels like word is his playground. He has been part of many technological progresses that humanity has made. We all know about Tesla and his contribution there. We know what he's doing at space, in the space work. Previously with PayPal, how he revolutionized the financial industry. So in a way, it's not as if he's entitled to what he's doing, he's earned that, right? And he also didn't just walk into Twitter. We also realized that social media has become more important than any other media ever in the history of mankind. So we saw newspapers come in, then we saw broadcasting media come in, and now truly we are seeing the social media. And he realized the power of social media in shaping the views of humanity and narratives in the humanity. And he didn't like the way Twitter was being run, and he was very vocal about it. And he went about acquiring Twitter. Now he is doing certain dramatic changes in Twitter's strategy and Twitter as a market. And some of those changes are clearly hurting the established point of views, narratives, and some of them will be path breaking, right? So I think it's too early to sort of get bought into a narrative and dismiss him as if this will be his failure, and it's just a rich man doing his things. I think he has a plan, my personal view. Some of those plans are not very apparent and visible to community outside, and some of those plans he is articulated. He has a point of view, and as a owner of that business is implementing his change, is entitled to do that. But at the same time, as a owner of social media, he has certain responsibilities to set as a role model of that media, which I think is sort of grappling with, he has struggled with. So that about Elon, right? But look, if you look at Elon's history, it is in a way the story of many of us. We were all born into middle class or lower middle class, went to ordinary schools, we were lucky to have good education. But this technology has made entrepreneurship democratic. It has given access to creation of wealth to everyone else, like us, like people like you and me. With our ideas, we can create products that people want, software and hardware products, and with those products, we can create wealth. It wasn't so when I was your age. Entrepreneurship belonged to people who had access to networks, access to capital. Capital was also not democratically available. So it's a monumental shift that Elon Musk represents in the way entrepreneurship is being run today. We all today have equal shot at entrepreneurship. I think that's the lesson we should draw as young people. So in a way, we are living in a world in flux where newer narratives are being born and tested constantly. But in terms of opportunities and access to opportunities, I think the world is entirely different today than it looked like when I was your age as a young boy. So you are really a lucky generation in terms of access to opportunities. Even access to education. When I was young, your age, if you were bright, you had two options, become a doctor or engineer. I chose to become an engineer, right? Today you have 30,000 different options to pursue. You can become a biologist or a designer or a doctor or a bioengineer. We didn't know all of this, right? So access to opportunity has also come with access to different kind of education that has opened up to humanity. So this is something to celebrate, right? And this is the true democratization.
So moving on, you've been a VC, and I feel being a VC is the fact that you have to be in the edge of what's happening, especially in technology. How is it that you educate yourself? How is it that you make yourself that these are the technologies that exist? And the part of the question is that how do you bet on certain things?
At the core of investing is investing in a founder. That is the core. So as an investor, your relationship with founder is very profound. I am an early stage investor. I invest in an idea or in a founder when it is not clear whether that idea will become a mega success or a mega flop, right? So I have to trust both my instincts, but also have to refresh my knowledge of the data, right? So I depend on a lot of data, but also at the end of the day, I also trust my instincts when I make an investment. So this is one part. The second part of this is that the march of technology is stupendous. Every few years, the landscape of technology changes. I have seen many technological shifts. If you see in my life, I went, listening to music, for example, as simple as that. My life began with listening to music on a radio. And then it moved to, when I was your age, teenager, it moved to Walkman, right? Bulky Walkmans. And then it moved to CD players. Then it moved to iPod,
Yeah.
which Steve Jobs launched. And then it moved to ringtones. And from there, now we are in the era of Spotify and Apple Music and Amazon Music and YouTube Music, right? Which is everything is streamed today. So, so many generational shifts in the music has happened, but it's not over. Now we are in the era of social music. Now we are even going in the era of generative AI, where music will also now be created by machines. Films will be created by machines, right? Almost half or 70-80% of the jobs that we used to think can only be done by creative part of humanity will now can be done by machines, right? So we are moving in an era of hybrid existence with machines, where AI and humans will work together to create even more beautiful objects and technologies. That's what is exciting. Staying on top of the trends is an impossibility. No matter how much you read and absorb, is a very tough job. But I think the most important thing about learning new things is to unlearn. Let the past go out so that new knowledge can come in. And the other thing is to surround yourself with the smartest people and youngest people. And that's what I keep doing. I gravitate towards smart young people, and I think I learn a lot from them, and that's what keeps me up and running.
Yeah. If you know about this author called as Morgan Housel, he's the author of Psychology of Money. He had this quote that you take 100 bets, and then almost all of them, almost all of the return will come from five of them. Most of the return will come from one or two. How do you think about this in the VC world?
Well, this is the tenant. This is one way of thinking about it, and it's a good way of thinking about it. And this is a risk-taking approach to building a venture fund. And this is well known now. Even if I look at my own 100 bets which I took in startups, the wealth creating one have been about 7 or 8, right, which have given me more than 100x return. And this is in the nature of the things, because there is a lot of experimentation in the venture world, and it's known that most of the experiments will not work. But the key thing is the experiment that work, they should work big for you, right? Then that's when you make 10x return on your investment. So risk taking is very, very integral part of venture investing. We are in earlier the startup, more risk you take, right? As companies mature, when you invest in them, predictability of their business model is more evident. You take less risk and therefore make less returns. So if you want to make 10x return, you have to learn to take more risk. But risk taking is a science, is a framework, but it's also an art. Portfolio construction is an important part of that science. So you should invest in what you understand. It's not about taking blind bets. So if I just put 100 random bets, would I have the same success? Maybe not. But if I take 100 informed bets, maybe I'll have better chances of success. That's my thesis.
Coming up to that, I see that the fact that being a VC, you really need to detect what is bullshit and what is not. When someone's trying to sell you something which is not really true, how do you detect that? What is your framework to sort of go to the absolute truth of someone? And yeah.
Look, it's very difficult. Some of the ideas are hugely transformative but sound highly incredulous when they are pitched to you, because you don't have a framework of evaluating, right? But what I tend to do is I tend to look into the eyes of the founders and see where are they coming from, right? And I tend to sort of have a greater faith in founders who have personal experience which they are bringing to the forth, right? Founders who are imaginative but also have execution capabilities. So it for me it boils down to the credibility and the storytelling and execution of a founder and his team. So we are in the business of believing in incredible news stories, right? And we also understand that many of these stories will never turn out the way they are projected. To be honest, out of the 130 deals that I have done, there is not a single deal where business turned out to the way it was pitched to me. Almost all businesses had to pivot, right? But what sustained through those pivots was resilience of the founder, the belief of the team and the founders to keep executing and keep discovering a new future and not get deterred by the failures, right? So we understand that when a pitch is being made, that it may not turn out to be the same way, but it will turn out to be some version of that pitch. The key question then is, can this founder handle that, right? And so that's where the determination is made. But as I said, we are in the business of believing in credible stories, incredible news stories. And I love to hear incredible new ideas. The world is not changed by people who are in incremental new businesses. The world is changed by the people who have the ability to imagine and then execute on that.
Can you just share some of the stories that you have, very like something that you'll remember forever?
Well, so many different stories. So we have a company called Quizizz, and when they pitched their idea to me, they were trying to create gamified mathematical learning tools for slum children. And then they realized when they were trying to do it, they were becoming a content company. So instead, they wanted to become a platform company and create tools so that others can create content on it. So they quizzes to this Quizizz platform, which is today now used by 75% of US school teachers to give quizzes, post-class quizzes in school to the students. So almost, and this idea is spreading, and they kept working on platform with just 5-7 engineers, and some teachers discovered their platform and they recommended to other teacher. So this is an incredible story of product-led growth of a startup out of India, which has captured 50% of US school market with zero marketing spend, just on the power of the product and storytelling, right? But what impressed me was that the founders were first stayed focused on education, but pivoted from one idea in education to another idea which had even bigger market than they imagined, right? So many such stories. Every day is a new story. Last 2 years back, a team called Food. The guy pitched to me a version of hydroponics. In my imagination, hydroponics is in urban setting, some leafy, new age vegetables being grown with psychedelic lights, and I said, no, this is not what I'm solving. I'm solving the problem of rural India. And he invited me to visit his first hydroponic farm in Kota. And I drove there during, COVID. And when I went there and I saw that it wasn't just some fancy, leafy products that they're going to build, his vision was to create sustainable farming. All energy is coming from the sun, all water is being recycled, and he had an imagination to build this for 10-acre farms or 20-acre farms and grow the vegetable production 20 times, right? The same per acre yield he is creating 20 times. And then I understood the vision and I imagined what the education in India could be. And then I wrote the first check to him. Then I pitched him to some VCs. And now that company is growing by leaps and bounds. And he's just put up a 40-acre farm, hydroponics. And his vision now is to transform the whole, create sustainable agriculture model, not just for India, but also now is taking his technology to Gulf, where they have food shortages and they have lack sustainable agriculture resources. So it's about plant engineering, it's about water management, it's about energy management, and it's creating new model of a health agriculture. So incredible stories have come out of India and across world where entrepreneurs have dared to dream and create new ways of doing things and question the existing way of doing things. They have challenged the incumbents, and that's what makes investing and working with this founder so exciting.
Yeah. So going to the fact of businesses, so in high stakes situations you have a lot of conflicting opinions and they can be staggeringly different. So how do you keep your calm and at the same time make a decision?
See, conflicts is a natural part of decision making. First you have to listen to everyone. So listening well is at the heart of making good decisions, right? When you listen well, then you understand the nuances of positions that are required, right, to be understood. So the second is removing biases, right? We human beings are inherently biased, right? An aware human being is aware of his bias, right? And then when the tough situation comes, then you have to be more aware of your biases so that you can remove the biases out of the decision, right? And the third is you cannot shortchange data for guts, right? You have to allow, when you're making tough decisions, to be data driven, right? When you at the end, where is no more data to be analyzed, then comes the role of guts. So guts cannot substitute decision making that has to be done through data. So my framework is simple: listen, understand all the different perspectives. When you listen well, new opportunities emerge to make better decisions. Remove biases from your own mind, because you have to be aware that you could be biased. And finally, trust your guts, but not at the cost of data. That helps you to make smarter decisions in my mind.
And another thing is the fact that how does it feel like to be invested in so many companies and being a part of such a big organization, being so influential? Is it stressful?
No, it's joyful. If you can be part of such an incredible ecosystem as Indian startup ecosystem or global startup ecosystem, where some of the smartest brains are working at the cutting edge of technology or cutting edge of risk taking or cutting edge of business modeling, I think we are lucky and privileged to be part of such smart bunch of people, and I'm honored, and therefore I have responsibility, right? So for me, every day is exciting. I don't feel stressed at all. I am available to all the invested founders. We meet thousands of new founders every year. Unfortunately, we cannot invest. We don't have that kind of capital. I wish I had more so I could invest in more companies. We back 20-30 founders a year and their vision, and some of them work, some of them don't work. Even the founders who don't work, they become my friends. I have then invested in their next ventures. So this cycle goes on and on. So this cycle of creation, cycle of seeing destruction, you see both when you are in startup. You see, actually before creation, you see destruction, is very, very rejuvenating and refreshing and keeps me young. I don't allow it to stress me.
Yeah. Shifting gears, so I recently saw that you posted about India versus Bharat. I really wanted to venture into that. What is India versus Bharat?
This is India, where we're sitting. Plaksha is India. You are some of the most privileged people. Bharat is when you go a few miles from here. I went today morning, and there is a village behind where young kids are going to a single teacher school, and they barely have clothes to put on. So my wife, who is a school teacher, narrated a story to me about one such school, and she's training young teachers to go to such school and become teachers. And she said, these are the kids who come from, the construction workers' kids. And she went there, so she said, normally classes of 20-30 kids, only 5 turned up, and the reason they didn't turn up was maybe it was cold, right? That day it was cold, yesterday. And then there were 5 kids in the class she was supervising, and one girl kept saying, I'm hungry, right? Incredible. Imagine a 5-year-old children, a kid, coming to school, and they're coming for midday meal, right? And they come with the box, parents give them the box, and their motivation is food, right? Yet, they value education, right? Their parents and the children know that this is the way out of this. So, now on the other side of Bharat. So, if you look at Indian demographic, 1.4 billion people, maybe 200 million middle class, which is driving the consumption, but over billion people are Bharat, right? That is the true potential of India, when these billion people become consumer of your product. So what are some of those products where these billion people are consuming? Jio is one such product, right? They're consuming data. When billion people are consuming data, it has enabled India to become digital powerhouse. Those products and services that these people in Mofussil towns, small cities, villages, when they start consuming your product and services, you will become very big. That is the big opportunity that India truly offers. If you look at Indian middle class, yes, it's good, it's growing, it will offer opportunities, but I think massive big opportunities where you will touch the life of billions of people will come when you truly serve Bharat.
How do you see the products and the companies panning out in Bharat?
See, it has to be low cost, well priced, widely distributed. So, to be able to serve to Bharat, distribution is key. I keep saying content is king, distribution is God. So, now luckily we are at a time where digital distribution channels are available to penetrate Bharat. It wasn't so 5 years back, but with the mobile phone cost coming down, data cost coming down, the adoption of mobile and data, and even now payments, UPI, is widespread in Bharat. And that allows for creation of next generation of digital services. But Bharat is also about physical distribution, right? How do you, I was yesterday talking to a company, how do we get goods and to move to small villages in Madhya Pradesh, right? What kind of new age distribution models are required, right? Uh, so as Bharat is getting connected through roads, through transports, through digital means, uh, all those people are becoming consumers, right? And a new virtuous cycle of consumption, lending, wealth creation, job creation is beginning, which will create many unicorns in my views.
And I even think the fact that it's not just extended to Bharat, it also can extend to other areas of the world, because most of the areas of the world are not privileged.
Definitely. So look at Africa. It's a big story that is unfolding for digital world, right? Southeast Asia is a miracle, right? So many parts of the world, some of those business models that Indian companies are creating are replicable across many different parts of the world, right? Bangladesh itself is a marvel of digital lending, and a lot of business models have come from there, and that country has made rapid progress, right? So there are many countries where similar challenges exist, but those consumers who are at the threshold of subsistence, as they get educated, as they get access to digital means, they will become consumers, and I think that's where the great hope of humanity is.
Right. Thinking about the current generation and even Plaksha, what do you think we can do to inculcate the idea and the motivations of entrepreneurship, get that acumen of business within people?
I think it's about building a culture of, or first it's about entrepreneurial mindsets. So it's about organic risk taking. It's about taking initiative to do something new and different. Uh, the idea of entrepreneurship is much larger than the idea of a startup, right? A startup is just one form of entrepreneurship, which is glamorized and seen more in the context of venture funding and technology. But entrepreneurship is a bigger concept, right? We've heard incredible stories. I was just one of the founder of Plaksha University is Akash. I was with Akash Chaudhary, and he told me how his father created a wealth. He was a government school teacher, his father, and he used to take tuitions, and that's how the idea of Akash started. And he was very good at taking those tuitions, and he used to do it in biology. And now Akash has created hundreds of thousands of doctors through its Akash institutions. So it was not done through technology or a startup, but it was a school teacher who became an entrepreneur, right? So that's the idea, which is even bigger than the notion of startups, right? So today I think that notion is taking shape even in school and colleges. At Plaksha University, the vision is even larger. I would be very happy 4 years from now when you graduate, half your class is not seeking job but launching its own startup. Maybe some of you take a year or two break and launch your startup. If we can build this mindset in you, which says it's all right to fail, but it's worth taking a risk, then I think we've done a great job of educating you, right? So you should get here in this university world-class access to world-class faculty, access to some of the smartest brains in the academic world, but you should also be imbued with an entrepreneurial mindset, organic mindset, which trains you to take risk and trains you to launch new projects and not be fearful of failure. So if we done that, I think in 5 years we'll be very proud of the work we are doing here, and that's what the vision is.
Definitely so. I hope that many of entrepreneurs come out of Plaksha, and
I'm
that creates
sure
a
of that.
cascading effect even on future Plakshans.
Absolutely. I think I'm very enthused to see what is happening across different campuses in India. We are doing a research where we are trying to see what is what kind of entrepreneurs are coming out of campuses. At GSF itself, I have announced 10 scholarships for campus-based founders who will attend our GSF Academy program. So I think entrepreneurship is becoming wider. It is also becoming younger. So we think student and faculty entrepreneurship is the new wave that should start in India, and very hopeful that it will be a force to reckon with. At least 25% of all entrepreneurship will come out of colleges and schools. So that's the future. Then less number of students when they graduate from universities like Plaksha will be job seekers, they will be job givers when they graduate.
Yeah. What do you think should be the primary motivations of a wannabe entrepreneur, a person who's just starting up?
See, entrepreneur at its core is about problem solving, right? So entrepreneur is someone who empathizes with that problem and then has a unique way of solving it, an innovative way. And you can, there are many different ways of analyzing and understanding problems. Some problems are grand challenges for humanity, for example, water shortage, right? Pollution, right? Some problems seem very frivolous and small in the beginning, but then can result into something very big later. Facebook started as a college-based hot and not kind of a website, but today is such a powerful organization which is shaping the narratives on social media. YouTube started as a fun site, but today it's actually the biggest ad tech in the world, right? So our idea here is to not glamorize any form of entrepreneurship. We believe in all form of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship should be experiential. Entrepreneurship what makes the founder passionate about solving that problem in a unique and different way, right? And sum total of all this entrepreneurship is that more jobs are created, more wealth is created in a society, and societies become more democratized, right? And that is what is exciting about this whole idea of entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. I think so we reached the end of this conversation, but I was very fascinated about having this conversation with you, the insights that you gave us. Hope you did the same.
Oh, lovely chatting with you, and keep rocking. Keep doing more interviews. Would love to hear your podcasts as you build this platform. I'm glad I'm the first one to start it, but I'm sure you will have many more distinguished people who will come here and share their journeys and their thoughts. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Lovely. Thank you.